And away we go. It is the BCJ podcast brought to you by the Holy Grail right here on BearcatJournal.com. If you are looking for a sea of humanity tomorrow, get yourself down to the Holy Grail. It is opening day. Enjoy the festivities. Whether you have tickets to the Reds game or not, make sure throughout the summer you're stopping by the Grail. You are supporting those that support us. And you can do that by stopping in and having a beverage, getting some great food, and just all in all enjoying Dora and the atmosphere down at the banks. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
You going to opening day tomorrow?
Absolutely not.
Why not?
Because I don't really like baseball.
But you have a favorite baseball team.
I do.
Which means you like baseball some.
Oh, no, they have a singular goal, and that is to keep me somewhat interested until football season starts. And if they accomplish that, then I don't really care what happens the rest of the year. I mean, I do appreciate the semi-new ownership group and what they do, but no, I don't really care.
I mean, anymore.
It does make it a little.
The NFL is year round, so
right.
What does it even matter anymore?
But like in May and June, there's not really anything going on, and then, but it is funny to live in Cincinnati, and can't avoid hearing Reds talk. If you are on Twitter, you listen to any bit of sports radio in this town. It's funny to live here and hear what everybody talks about here, and then juxtapose that with who my favorite team is and the way that they do business, and how it's not exactly the same goals and aspirations appear to be in mind.
Steve Cohen doesn't care.
No, he doesn't. He has a lot of money, and he is very happy to spend it on baseball players.
He is. He doesn't. It's what you want in an owner. You bought the team. Spend your money to make the team a winner.
I'm actually wearing. It's funny you bring this up. I'm actually wearing.
See, big baseball on opening day eve. Dave's got his Mets gear on. He's a big baseball fan. Don't let him fool you.
Huge MLB guy. I was listening today, going to pick up Will, and Mo was talking to some people that cover the Reds, and he rattled off 5 or 6 names that they could have all come to my house today, and I would have had no idea who those guys were.
I mean, it is what it is.
Hope that payroll's getting aligned, though.
Yeah. It's going to be it's going to take a while for me to figure out who is who, and I have to do it pretty quick because I'm on the radio a lot in the spring and summer, and I know like 6 guys on the team.
One of them isn't playing anytime soon.
Right. Oh, boy. What do you want to start with?
Well, you were at practice today.
I was at practice today.
Probably start with that.
I've been at 2 practices this week.
That seems like a reasonable place to begin.
Today was a lot. It was a lot of special teams and individual stuff. I was hanging out with a former player, Mr. Jabari Taylor, for a good portion of it, and he's like, are we going team today? Like, been a lot of special teams, a lot of individuals, a lot of station to station, a lot of position work. Not a lot of let's play some football today. So I would tell you this. if the 3 practices of 7 that I've seen so far are any indication, this is a football team that is going to turn the ball over a lot.
Which side are you talking about?
Yes. The defense has been ball hawking, Dave. They've been everywhere.
Good.
I had interceptions today for Jordan Young, DJ Taylor. I had 2 interceptions for Taj Ward. I had 2 interceptions for Sammy Anderson, and that's on a day that they didn't have a lot of teamwork. It was on a day where there was a lot of situational, 7-on-7 in the red zone, and like I said, a lot of special teams, a lot of
save some of those up for the season, fellas.
I have been really impressed with Jordan Young. Like, that looks like a legit high major defensive back. He gets his hands on the ball a lot and seems to, more often than not, be properly positioned to make a play on the ball. Not just like he's around the ball, but like back turn, like facing the quarterback, hands ready, alert. You're not seeing it go through his hands. You're not seeing him miss opportunities. He's had a pick every day I've been there, and I know Carey mentioned the couple days that Carey was there, he had picks on those days as well. So they definitely went out and got a good one in Jordan Young.
So we've seen a lot of Coach Kerry Combs fist pumps.
Yes.
And, exuberation on the sideline.
Yes, lots of that. Also, I thought it was fairly interesting that DJ Taylor was at safety today. And in talking to Satterfield after practice, the indication was he's the guy that they're going to be using pretty much predominantly at safety in either of the 2 spots. So, talk for a second.
Cool. But yeah, it's always the push and pull of spring practice. One group is doing great. That means that, somebody else isn't doing great. At the same time, like, especially defensively with this type of personnel, like they have by far more returners on defense, more veterans on defense.
Yeah.
And you're going to be playing, you're going into a system that is, I'm not going to say it's easy, but like it's probably fairly
it's
easy.
Not super complex.
For them to pick it up quickly when it's a lot of attacking, it's a lot of what we saw Louisville do, especially last year, what we've known Coach Brown to want to do. Like we're joking about the offense, and obviously there's a lack of wide receivers, and they're throwing a lot of interceptions. But like, I would be far more concerned right now if the offense, if you were coming on here being like, the quarterbacks look amazing, the 5 wide receivers we have, nobody can cover them, like they can't get pressure on the offense. Like I would be far more concerned about that because I'd be thinking, well, wait a second. We have like a lot of returning impact players on defense, learning a system that is very much just go get the ball, go move forward, be aggressive. Like that would be a problem to me far more than some offensive struggles.
You want to know how thin they are at receiver, Dave?
I mean, did Justin get some reps today?
No, but Shamama Taylor is playing wide receiver right now.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do.
6'5", 250. Now, the explanation from Satterfield makes perfect sense. He's limited because of his shoulder surgery in the offseason. So it's not like he's going to be at the line of scrimmage,
line
running into people.
No.
And he said this gives him a chance to get him out wide and then put him in space and see if he's capable of making plays down the field in space. And it makes sense.
Work on his routes, work on, because it is a big adjustment if you've always kind of played in like this quote unquote box area, and you're only running like a few routes from an inline tight end type of position to then being out there on the numbers, outside the numbers, like your spatial awareness is totally different. You have to worry about where the sideline is. You have to think about where the defend, like it's just a much different look and feel and mindset to play it. So I think it's good to get that experience and understanding of those type of routes and what you have to do out there.
Yeah. But that's how thin they are.
Wait, how many do they have? Like 5 guys?
In terms of
actual
like guys that are actually live, D. Wiggins, Donovan Ollie, Chris Scott, Barry Jackson.
Is Sterling here yet?
Sterling Buckhalter, yeah. I was flipping the page. Ty Perkins, Jair Thomas, and Leslie Ando.
So 7.
So 8, and 2 of those are walk-ons.
Walk-ons.
Yeah. So real 6. I mean, but Leslie Ando's running with the ones in the slot.
They don't have any slot receivers.
Leslie Ando and Barry Jackson. That's it for slot receivers. And then you have 4 outside guys plus Jared Thomas.
Well, hopefully some guys enter the portal.
Oh, they know. Again, they're well aware. We can't.
Oh, I know.
You're going to need 2 to 3 slot receivers.
There's only you can only go after what's out there.
Right.
So.
I joked that Neil Meyer from the Front Office News was going to be suited up on Friday, ready to go.
Is he a deep threat?
I mean, he's small, so he fits the one of the criteria. Jeffrey, we just did the count. There's like 8, and 2 of them are walk-ons. It's a rough room right now.
Ground and pound, baby.
They're gonna have to run the ball a lot.
Ground and pound.
You're gonna find out why they have like 6 guys in that running back room.
We're gonna have some fast games.
Is this real life right now? Yes, it is real life. Right, like we are live from the BCJ studio. Not a lot of. Were they just more selective round 1 of wide receivers in the portal? They were still figuring out that all of their wide receivers were leaving. Like I don't know, like yes, they knew it was a factor. They went out and got a couple. But you need more. I mean, they generally a wide receiver room has 12, 13 scholarship wide receivers, and right now they have 6.
This is something that I don't even remember if we've talked about, and I was kind of confused on, I guess, just the way that when Coach Satterfield had that press conference and talked about Keyshawn Helton, I was confused by his wording. Is he done or done for the spring?
He's done for the spring.
They're hoping. It was very vague. Like he made it sound like he was done for the spring, but then you could have also taken it as like he's just not going to be able to play.
They hope he's going to be ready by the start of the season. But even I think that is probably not likely.
That's kind of what I thought too, but it was weird the way that it was kind of talked about.
I'm sure they're hoping that they have, a chance to get him out there.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing probably not. Just the way, look, when they start wording things weird,
yeah,
they're talking around something. So, Mitchell, we'll reassess the wide receiver room once spring practice is open. If they can catch a football
Any wide receiver that is not committed somewhere that is in the portal, you can just say is a target.
Yeah.
Now, what level of target? Who knows? But
yeah. What's the main cause of the turnovers? One, it's nobody knows each other. You're working with new quarterbacks, and like I said, an entirely outside of Chris Scott, an entirely new wide receiver room. So, and it's not like they had a bunch of time leading up to spring ball to get out there and start chucking the old pigskin around. They didn't have an indoor facility, and it's winter in Cincinnati. So that's a lot of it. I do think they're going against a pretty good defense, or what should be a pretty good defense, and guys that can make individual one-on-one plays. I also think Ben Bryant really has been limited. Today was kind of the first day he was really back and going live in the team portion of practice. He had been doing some 7-on-7 and one-on-ones, but he's the best thrower on the team. So he hasn't been out there. So there's a lot of things that go into why the passing game right now is stuck at the starting line. The wheels are spinning. So far, Emory Jones has struggled as a passer. That's just being 100% honest with you guys. He's thrown a lot of the picks. Lichtenberg has had some. Drogish has had some. They have spread it around, but new guy, new system, new wide receivers, doesn't know anybody. They don't know him. And defensive backs that are able to play the ball presents a problem early in the spring game. I wish that wasn't the case, but it is.
Yeah. It is what it is. It's also the end of March, so.
Yeah. What you got questions for me, Dave? You got things you want to know? I mean, questions.
What have you gleaned, I guess, as much as you can from like the offensive line, how those guys are coming together, differences in last year to this year, how the run game has looked, who's kind of stood out in that world?
The first team offensive line has looked pretty solid. I mean, again, you're trying to figure out who fits where on a new offensive line. And you're doing so against a defensive line that's insanely experienced and really strong and physical. So that's going to cause some issues. But they've opened up holes in the running game. Now, they've been there hasn't really been this is the number one back. They have rotated those guys as they should because you have so many of them. And even now, Monty is working back. Hi, Pickle. So you have Kiner, you have Miles Montgomery, you have Ryan Montgomery, you have Ethan Wright, you have Stephen Bird, who's gotten some reps. You have Manny Covey that's gotten some reps. So you've got a lot of quality at running back, and they've just been kind of spreading the wealth as they get their reps in. But that's kind of there have been some big runs. There have been, you can tell this should be a pretty running back friendly system. It should be a system that, if you can, as long as you can get to the edge, you should be in pretty good shape because there should be lanes as you create space out there. Now, of course, the problem you worry about is that there's no passing game.
Sure.
Everybody's just going to be standing there waiting to see which outside gap you run the ball to. But yeah, I mean, I haven't been overly alarmed in any one way or shape or form with the offensive line. I think John Williams is okay at left tackle. I'd love to see them go try to find one in the portal if you have scholarships that you don't have to use on wide receiver available. but I like Radosevic a lot at guard. I like what I've seen from Gerhardt. Tinsley has been D'Artagnan Tinsley has been pretty effective when he's been in there. And then Philip Wilder has been pretty solid at right tackle so far.
Has there been any like differentiation between Gerhardt and Radosevic at center, or has it been kind of split?
Gerhardt's been there more than Radosevic on the
Okay.
days I've been there. They have, swapped them some.
Yeah.
But if I had to guess the way that they're eyeing things right now, it's that Gavin starts at center and Radosevic starts at guard. Now, which guard?
Depends on that.
Don't know yet.
Kendra's been out,
He's been
in and
hurt,
out. Yeah.
So I would guess. Sorry, I'm really tired. I would guess probably Radosevic at right guard, Kandra at left guard, but I mean I could be wrong on that.
Well,
Yes, Mitchell Kandra's dinged up.
It's all right because that's what spring is for. Is seeing who meshes well with who, and who feel a guy might get work at right guard on the day that you happen to be there,
right?
And that's just to see how it works in case something happens and he doesn't like it, and the next practice he's back at left guard. I mean,
right.
Who knows? That's when you figure those things out, and that's what they have to figure out with again a fairly thin group, especially at tackle. It's like you kind of have to figure out if guys can play either spot, because say something happens to one but then another guy's like, I just can't play right. I'm a left only, like the footwork,
right?
The kick steps don't work for me. Like not everybody can just line up and go play whatever spot you want. So
right.
It is it's definitely the time to figure that all out right now. And I think they're going to have one of, this will be a learning experience for us, but because I haven't needed to truly study a lot of the Big 12 and stuff like that yet. But their defensive line is going to be one of the better defensive lines in the league.
Yeah.
So,
and there's good depth there too.
They're going up against a pretty solid group, and that'll only help them.
I think they're going to be pretty good at linebacker. Mm-hmm. Dorian Jones looks very good. He is aggressive downhill. And then how the hell do you say his name?
Who?
Greziak.
Oh, okay.
Him and Dorian Jones, when they line up next to each other, is impressive looking. And you've got Jack Dingle rotating in. They're still a little thin at linebacker, I think, but that right now is more, I think, trying to adjust to like the three. It's the three down linemen, but it's more of a 3-4. They have. Tyler Gillison has been lined up as an outside edge rusher, like an outside backer. Jamal Williams has been lined up as an outside backer. They're taking a look at whoever they can get in that spot. Greziak has been in that role. So they're toying with some things to see how it kind of all fits. And then, safety. Morgan Smith wasn't there today. Not sure why. He's been there, so I don't think it's a big deal. A lot of times it's class or, commitment, something going on. But I thought DJ Young looked really good at safety next to threats. They're two kind of smaller guys, DJ Young being the transfer from Arizona State. Or DJ Taylor, sorry, the transfer from Arizona State.
Oh, you're fine. Just confuse people.
I know. My brain doesn't work right now. I'm sorry. So that gives you a little bit of added depth at safety. And then, Taj Ward is kind of that floater. He can play nickel. He can play safety. I don't think you necessarily want him on the outside, but they needed more depth at safety. So adding DJ Taylor into that mix, I think, helps that room considerably. If you've got three guys in Threats, Taylor, and Smith, or Morion Smith, that can kind of rotate in there, I think you feel pretty good. Mm-hmm. Derek Shepard getting in the 2 deep, yes, technically. Like I would say Dominique Perry, as we expected, is like the 1A or 1B to Corleone's 1A. So they've been splitting, running in and out with the ones, and then Shep has been the main guy with the 2s. What else you got there?
How has the field goal kicking looked with some new faces there?
They haven't done a ton of it. I mean, most of it has been the Arizona State transfer.
Right.
I think he missed one, and it might not have been him, but there was one that was missed wide left today. But for the most part, it's been okay. I mean, it's spring ball. They're not spending a ton of time place kicking.
Yeah.
At this point.
Who did you?
He looks like he has a good leg.
Who did you speak with today?
Quarterback day today.
Oh, okay.
We got Ben Bryant, we got Emory Jones, and we got Brady Lichtenberg.
Oh, wow.
Now, before everybody gets up in arms, Evan Prater he's been dinged up for the past couple practices. And if you're dinged up, you don't talk to the media. You don't practice, you don't get the shine, if you will. So
not like it
today.
Not letting Dragic talk to the media yet, huh?
No.
Freshman never.
No freshman ever talked to the
media in the spring.
Yeah.
No chance.
Zero. It's a big kid, man. There was something interesting. Lichtenberg said today he thinks Drogas is the fastest of the quarterbacks. And if that's the case, if I'm Evan, I'm telling him, get on the line. Let's run. I need to defend my honor here in this program. If it's not his leg that's bothering him, you got to race Brady Drogas to prove you're faster than him. That's just a necessity.
I don't know, though. What if you lose?
Well, I mean, you got to defend your honor at some point. So, yeah, we haven't seen much of Evan this week. But like that second team offensive line, Dave.
Yeah.
Evan Tengestal has been getting a look at guard, who is a true freshman.
Not surprised.
And Matt Mason.
Yeah, I noticed that one in your practice report the other day. I'm not familiar with his work.
He is a redshirt freshman from Ryle High School here in the great metropolis of Northern Kentucky. And he has been playing some center.
All right.
With the 2s. You have 2 centers essentially with the 1s with Radosevic and Garrett, right. One at center, one at guard. So he's really a 3 technically. Yeah. But things are pretty thin. Mal Glenn has been hurt, so he's out. So it's been, let's see, Cam Jones, Matt Mason, Evan Tengestal, and Ethan Green, and I think Jonathan Harder have been your second team offensive line. And if you're a head coach, that probably at this point in time makes you a little nervous.
Oh, I would agree.
There's 4 freshmen there.
Yeah.
3 redshirt freshmen and a true freshman and obviously again, Kandra's out. So if you think you've got 5 plus Kandra and Cam Jones, then you have 7, but you'd probably like it to be a little deeper than that, just in case.
Yeah. You'd like it to be a little deeper with some older, more developed guys in that depth.
Now, maybe it's a good thing for the future.
Oh, I would hope it is. I mean, the lack of offensive line recruiting and development can't really get much worse. So
Right.
So I'm hoping it's a good thing for the future, but I'm also hoping that they somehow make it through spring, preseason camp and the entire season with not having any offensive line issues.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's about all I've got on spring ball for now. I'm going to have to, at some point in time, finish this write-up, which there wasn't a ton to write up today, just like I said, because they didn't
I'll just tell
you go
people
live a lot.
Annoy the people that want to read articles by telling them to listen to the podcast.
I didn't say much in the podcast either. Yeah, so that's spring ball. Any other questions from you on the first week or two of spring?
Not really. It's I take a very without with them not having anything on Saturdays. I obviously have not been able to get out there. I take a very, very, very measured approach to spring. I look at it as a lot of just experimentation, a lot of learning, and the results or what is exactly happening from a play-to-play basis is not something I put a ton of stock in, especially given some of the things that are going on, whether it's new, lack of wide receivers, whether it's just learning a new system, especially on the offensive side. Like I'll save my my declarations for the fall.
There's probably going to be a lot of those.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, Dave, it's. Sorry, let me get back.
It is. We know what
they're replacing. They're replacing an offense, like almost an entire offense,
and they're also replacing a roster that, as we saw on Twitter from the recruiting department, has had more players drafted the last 2 years than any team in the Big 12, and is going to have, I don't know, 4, 5, 6. I mean, who knows? But another 4, 5, 6 guys drafted this year. So what was that number? Like 13?
13, yeah.
So you got 13. Let's just say it's 5 more. That's 18 guys in 3 years, plus your key players that have graduated, plus guys that have now transferred. Like, it's a major rebuild. We're seeing it in certain positions, especially, but like nothing that you've talked about or that anybody's written. Like, I'm not surprised by any of it.
No, it's pretty expected. Any more practices this week? They're supposed to go Friday.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
It's probably not happening. I mean, they might have, by the time they get to the spring game, they might have 4 additional practices.
Unless they go down to like the Bengals thing or something.
Yeah, I haven't got the sense that's
an option
on the table for spring.
Yeah.
Maybe they do. I don't know. But the word has been, like, if there's weather, expect there's a pretty good chance they're not going to go that day.
Right.
Like, that's why they weren't going to go Thursday of last week, but they moved it to Thursday and then canceled Friday because of the weather. Have I talked much with the new OC? I haven't talked much with anyone. Working on it. We did make a new friend on Monday.
Who's that?
Nico Palizzetti,
Oh,
who
yeah.
joined the BBP and was outstanding. If you haven't seen that, make sure you go watch it because it was really, really good. We're getting there, Natalie. It's a slow burn right now.
Again, it's
yeah.
all it's this. People either sometimes they're new, they don't know. They people like we had the same stuff fixed first year.
Right.
I mean, we've told stories about Brian Mason. Like it wasn't.
I didn't think that was ever going to happen.
It wasn't just to show up and hi, I'm with Bearcat Journal. Please tell me everything that's going on
right now. Right. So yeah, it's a work in progress. We're getting there. I'm happy with where things are at. I'm happy with the people we have gotten to like start building relationships with. And like, I think it's going to be a very good staff to work with, a pretty easy staff to work with, but building relationships has to happen organically. You can't force it. I've talked about that before. Like if you force it, there is a much higher chance that the relationship is never going to develop.
Well, I mean, just look at this.
You've been insufferable trying to like build it.
From the sense of like, we've had Nico, Coach Satterfield, and Coach Thomas.
Yeah.
Within the first,
3 months.
3 months. We didn't get Denbrock. We got Denbrock once. And I think that was it.
Yeah.
In 6 years to come to be, willing to come on.
Marcus came on.
The BCJ, like the actual podcast, or did you do like a kind of I don't remember that necessarily. Maybe he did, but I don't remember. I remember Denbrock. I don't remember Marcus.
He did a bunch of stuff. Whether he came on like the specific, Marcus was always open to doing stuff.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course.
We're probably gonna, have someone on next week if
we're working on one that would make people happy next week as well.
Yeah, I mean we're working on something for next week too. So, yes, they seem the university, the coaches, they seem very receptive, but it's still a process,
I wish it wasn't. I wish it was like just 1, 2, 3. Hey, all right.
I mean,
the new guys to replace the old guys. Everybody's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure things will change when we're in season, but I would love to be able to chop it up with Sat like all the time.
Right. But he spoke today. I'm working on uploading that. That whole process has been a nightmare on my part because I bought a new camera and the new camera, I got to figure some stuff out. And my brain just doesn't work right now. I tried like going through the instructions, Dave, and I was like, I might as well have flipped it over and read the Spanish instructions. That's how good my brain was working when I tried to troubleshoot some of the problems I'm having.
Yeah.
Natalie, think practice will be canceled due to excessive Reds Pirates traffic? Probably not. I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be all right. All right. You got anything else on football, Dave?
Let's see. I saw PFF had Coach Brown as the number 10 defensive coordinator in the country today. I don't know what they're basing that on, but that's right. Cool. What else? I saw that Dane Brugler of The Athletic is easily the highest of the draft experts on Tyler Scott.
Yeah, that's been that way for a while.
He has him as his number 48th ranked player overall, wide receiver number 7, which like I think McShay has Tyler Scott at 215 overall. So it's which I don't agree with that. I'm not sure I'd have him as high as 48. I think I'm feeling pretty comfortable that he will go in the third round. I think he
I
had
think that's fair.
I think he had some second round buzz. I'm not. Maybe he'll get into the back half of the late second. I'd feel pretty good saying third. I mean, you're a top 100 pick, top 100 player, if that's the case. But no, he's Dane put out his newest rankings today. Notice that only UC player in his top 100. Not real surprised, but we are basically a month away from the draft, so be good to see some more Bearcats get their names called.
It was funny. I was talking to Jabari today, Taylor, and he wasn't real happy with how he ran. And he said he felt like, and I've heard this from a couple guys, that, you know, the indoor facility for the Bengals is new. Generally, when turfs are new, they're slick because they haven't the rubber hasn't settled. Like it's a little like when you're doing the cone drills and they're
soft. They're
soft and like it's not easy to get great footing.
Yeah, get in and out of your brakes.
And he said he felt like, you know, he didn't have a great, like, not up to the standard he was expecting showing. And then he met with teams and they're like, you look great. And he's like, well, I slipped. And they were like, I didn't notice that you slipped. And it's funny just how, like, in a player's mind, what is considered, because, again, this is everything for them. Everything is riding on it. So if you feel like you had one cleat that didn't grab and your foot gave out for like a tenth of a second, in the player's mind, it's catastrophic. But the teams see that at every workout for every player that they are in contact with.
I was floored by Trey's agility numbers.
I'm not. That dude's he's a quick twitch.
They were terrible.
Break. Oh, really?
They were the worst of anybody at UC's pro day. Anybody.
Really?
Any player, any position.
I didn't dig that far into it.
Like Wiley's running faster 3-cone and short shuttles.
Maybe his feet slipped.
It was very, very, very odd because I would have guessed that would be. I mean, you can run. You know, they let you run it like until you feel like comfortable.
Yeah.
But no, it was very strange when I saw his full RAS sheet and the 3-cone and short shuttle were red. I was like, wait, what? And then I'm looking at the actual numbers. I'm like, oh my God, this is slower than like Huber, slower than Wiley.
Yeah, that doesn't look right.
It was an interesting.
That doesn't look right.
No.
So I think we can put a bow on football there, unless you have anything else.
No, I'm good.
I'm workshopping something for radio tomorrow, Dave.
Oh, am I like your guinea?
You're kind of my test subject because I think you'll have interesting thoughts on this that I'm not sure where I'm all the way going with it yet.
Well, you should probably figure that out before you bring it up as a radio topic.
I know, that's why I'm doing it now.
All right.
I've been thinking a lot about this fan base and how much it feels like it needs to see a psychiatrist about this Big 12 move. Like, everybody is freaking out about everything at every second. Everything you hear or read is not ready, not ready, not ready, not ready, not ready, not ready.
I'm the worst person for you to workshop this with because I'm not freaking out about anything.
Can I finish the rest of the thing? Like the rest of my thought. So that was where I was originally thinking about going with a considerable topic tomorrow, because I'm counter programming to opening day.
Right.
So you got to come with something that I can't talk Reds, because the people that are interested in the Reds, you know what they're going to be doing?
Listening to the Reds or watching the Reds.
Right. Like, that's what they're going to be doing. So I've been trying to workshop this in my head. I called Mo on Sunday while I was at my daughter's volleyball tournament, not while she was playing, mind you. They do this thing in
what a great
dad.
Dave. Good job.
No, you know what they do in volleyball, Dave? They make the kids work during the tournament.
Like the concession stand and stuff?
No, like their line judges.
Oh, they're okay, yeah.
They do the scoreboard, they score, they do the line.
That's smart. You don't need to find a bunch of volunteers.
Right.
And they know the rules, or they should. So
right. So they hire the main official.
Ref, yeah.
And then they make the 12-year-old girls ref or do everything else, which is kind of brilliant, like you said. But
I'm gonna go to these events and buy some line judges, get some under the table betting going.
But it forces the parents. Also, we had the ultimate. I thought I was gonna have a dad explosion, Dave, in her last game. So they won their pool. They swept all their games on Saturday. They were the 5 seed. They played the 4 seed Sunday morning in the quarterfinals. And they lost at the very, very third set, tiebreaker, whatever. So they go into the 5th place game. And if they won the 5th place game, we get to go home. And if they lose the 5th place game, we have to stay for them to work an extra hour and a half.
Oh.
Yeah, right? And they won, and I've never been more proud as a parent in my entire life. I wanted to there was a Cold Stone Creamery in the place. And I wanted to take the whole team to Cold Stone Creamery, except that would have taken an hour, right? And I would have still.
You would have been in the same spot you would have been.
Right.
If they would have
lost. So I was like, "Look, I owe you all next volleyball road trip for getting us on the road and the hell out of here." But anyway, so I call Mo and I'm trying to workshop this in my head about why everybody's on edge. Why everybody is losing their shit over Cincinnati's not going to be ready. Cincinnati's not going to be ready. In my mind, and I think you would agree with me here, Cincinnati's changed conferences, 8 times?
A bunch.
What's always happened, Dave? They've always figured it out.
They suck at first, and then they figure it out.
They've always figured it out.
Yeah.
When the resources and the planning, the only time I really remember that, they were day one ready was the Great Midwest, and that's because that wasn't a conference.
Right. It was basketball only, and it was a bunch of teams coming in together that were already generally in the same situation. It wasn't a step up.
Right.
Joining a group of teams that had been used to something, and you were now going to have to try and get to their level. Everybody was coming in at the same level.
Right.
It wasn't like that conference was comprised of UC, Marquette, DePaul, and then Duke, Kentucky. It was all relatively similar, programs and schools.
But somebody mentioned something today that got me thinking, and this is why I wanted to talk to you about it, because I think this is right up your alley as a diehard NFL guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it said one of the issues leaking into college sports, and I don't know that it's an issue, I just think it's change, is that college sports has now gotten closer and closer to the pro model, where everything is transactional.
Yeah.
So the season starts. And after 2 weeks, if somebody's struggling,
they can leave.
That guy's got to go. We got to go in the portal and that guy got to get him out of here.
Yeah,
because
bench that guy and go find another guy when the season's over.
Right. And as I was workshopping it today in my head, a lot of it is because, in my mind, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the NFL has mastered 24/7. It is all year. There is never a time when the NFL is not relevant.
Okay.
And fans, this has been the NFL thing for what, 5-6 years now? Where really they found a way to turn free agency into the draft, into OTAs, into...
Yeah, I would say, I would say it's been, I wouldn't go as far as say 10 years. So yeah, maybe like
5, 6, 7 years.
5, 6, 7 years when the combine really started to blow up, and
there you go.
And they really started, because you'd have the Super Bowl back 5, 6 years ago would always end like the very beginning of February. And then the combine would be 3-ish weeks later. Then free agency started in mid-March. Then you'd have the schedule release the week or so before the draft. Now I think it's after the draft, but then the draft is in April, the end of April. Your rookies show up, you do some like OTA stuff in May. You get the whole team together a couple weeks after that. You basically have the end of June through July off, and then boom, you're at training camp, end of July, season starts Labor Day. Week after Labor Day.
Yeah. So now fans are going to expect that out of all their teams. Like Reds fans expect it. Like what's going on in the minors? What's going on? Like who's going to be on the 40-man roster? It's not as much, but of course the baseball offseason really is the heart of the NFL season, and then spring training starts.
Mm-hmm.
Like by the end of the Super Bowl, spring training is begun.
Right.
For baseball. So they don't really get that down window that the other sports get. But when you talk about like college football, it's getting there, right? End of the season, coaching carousel, first signing day. Now the second signing day is the biggest joke in all of sports right now because it doesn't exist. They might as well get rid of that because it doesn't mean anything anymore. But then spring football, then the second transfer portal. What does that mean for teams? Like college football is getting there, and now we're seeing it in basketball as well. And success is defined now in a lot of ways, not by what you're doing, but by how many transactions you make.
Well,
Did we make enough transactions?
I think it, to me at least, this might just be me, I think it is heavily tied to the transfer portal in the sense of, even when Mick was here, like college basketball as a whole, college football as a whole, like you had a long time to understand who was going to make up your roster from year to year. Like very infrequently did players truly transfer. It happened, but not often.
Right.
So you knew, like if we're talking about like a Mick team, you knew going from one year to the next, like these are the seniors that are leaving, these are the freshmen that are coming in. None of these guys are going to transfer out, and none of these other guys are probably going to go pro early.
So there were no transactions to be enamored with.
And you also just knew you knew what to expect.
Yeah.
Now you don't know what to expect because players have the freedom to move freely. And so it puts some fans, I would imagine, on edge because they're wanting these things to happen quickly because they see them happening in other places quickly without having an understanding of the intricacies of those programs. So you inherently are like, well, if we're not doing things now, we're falling behind, and
Right.
we have to stay up. So when all these other teams are getting guys in the portal, why are we not getting guys in the portal? Like we're losing out on our opportunities. Where like for me, I'm not freaking out because I don't know who the hell is, like, we'll just use basketball for instance. How can I possibly say how good or bad we're going to be in the Big 12 if I have no idea who is going to be on the damn team?
Right. I mean, here's the thing. What we're predicting is that at 5 or 6 new players on the roster next year. We don't know. We know who 3 of those players are going to be. We don't know who 2 or 3 of those players are going to be. We don't exactly specifically know who's not going to all the way be here. It's the unknown puts people on edge.
Right.
And they want transactions because it feels like, and this is the thing that people probably need to look at. Look at how many teams have added quote unquote impact transfers. It's like 3. Like the transactions are happening on one end. They haven't happened on the other end yet.
Right. And I think it's the old, hope springs eternal. Like you see teams, whether, Kansas State basketball this year is the outlier, is the exception, 10 new guys, and then has a great season after being picked to finish last.
Yeah, and most of those guys, this fan base would have lost their fucking mind if they had added those guys in the transfer portal.
I'm just using them as the example.
No. They're a perfect example because they were outside the box, Dave. They didn't add people that were at the top of anybody's
transfer list. They added 10
list.
Guys and were still picked to finish last.
Right.
So everybody who thinks they know what the hell they're talking about didn't think that they added very good players. Now, come to find out, for whatever reason, it came together and they had a pretty darn good season and then an excellent tournament. But
well, the one guy that they added that was an impact guy was at one time the SEC preseason player of the year, and then he died on the court.
Right. But my point being, though,
that makes it even more closer to your point. Like, we had no clue Keontae Johnson was going to be SEC player of the year, Keontae Johnson.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just adding to your point.
Well, no, but it's that whether it's in football, like with TCU, Michigan's even done a really, really good job using the portal.
Very selectively.
You see teams that can make that bigger jump. Maybe it's not the jump that Kansas State made all the way to the Elite Eight, but
sure.
But you see teams grab whatever the number is, and they can instantly improve their chances of from where they were at the very end of their season to what their expectations are going into the next season. When before, like, you had an older team, you didn't have pros, but you were really good, and you added some freshmen who weren't going to play, so you knew, like, we're just relying on the older guys to be better, for us to be better. Now it's like, shit, we can get 3 dudes that started at other same level, lower level, better level programs come in here, and we can instantly be much better, or instantly go from first weekend to Final Four, or almost instantly go from NIT to Sweet 16. So I think when fans see that, they want to be a part of that. They don't want that to pass them by, even though nothing is passing anybody by right now. Like you said, like, right now, it's just everybody going into the portal. No one's really made a decision on. You're not missing out on anything. It's not like there's 10 point guards that we want, and 9 of them or 8 of them have picked where they want to go to school.
I was talking to a coaching friend of mine. I try to get outside perspective on some of this, so that I'm not like living just in this bubble. And they said, what's happening right now is speed dating. Everybody's like just talking to whoever will talk to them And then if they think that player is even remotely close to like their level, they talk, well, hey, would you be willing to do a Zoom? And then they do a Zoom. And that kid is probably doing 12 Zooms in like a 3-day window.
Yeah.
And it literally is speed dating. You're just, boop, it pops up. Hey, what's up? Steve Thomas from, the Missouri Valley champion.
Big state U.
Yeah, medium state U. Hey, Steve Thomas from medium state U. I'm such and such coach at such and such university. This is my staff. They're here on the screen with me. That's Joe, and that's Frank, and that's Ted. And we're going to sit here and we're going to spend 45 minutes with you speed dating.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have some blind faith, some trust in who your coach and your staffs are, that they're focusing on the right guys that can make an impact for you. But I mean, I think part of it too is just it's in football, it's the whole staff overhaul and stepping up a level. Like if Fickle and those guys were still here, there would be no panic about going to the Big 12.
I think there would be.
I mean, I don't know why.
Because they were pretty middle of the road AAC last year.
They would have been in the conference championship if they beat Tulane. I wouldn't say that was middle of the road.
But they weren't dominant. They didn't run through the conference.
What? Because they had lost all their good, like a lot of their good players. From
okay. So why wouldn't you have been concerned about Luke Fickle going into the Big 12 next year? They had lost all their good players the year before.
Concerned about like winning the Big 12, or concerned about like competing and not falling flat on your face? Like if
this fan base was freaking the fuck out about everything the entire season, Dave.
Those people are not people that I associate with. I don't know how many times I have to say that. Like, the people you communicate with on Twitter are not the people that I communicate with on the Bearcat Journal Twitter. Because I don't.
Well, I'm talking about people on Bearcat Journal, on the message board.
Yeah, I ignore them.
Until you go into the basketball and fucking.
Hey, when you're right, you're right. But anyway.
We'll see if you're right. Anyhow.
The basketball side of it, I understand more so because, like, the Big 12 is just, I mean, you can't necessarily say year to year it's going to be like it was this year, but, I can understand that freak out a little bit more because it's like, well, we finished middle of the road in the AAC.
No.
And we're now we're
correct.
What do you mean?
They were one injury from being third.
They were the 5 seed of 11 teams.
No.
That's literally middle of the road.
They were the 4 seed. And without Vic getting hurt, they're the 3 seed.
Okay.
And
we're gonna play them without a guy getting hurt the game?
Well, yeah, because they were up 20 in that game and the guy gets hurt. That is what would have gotten you to the 3 seed. Was winning that one game.
Okay.
Losing one game does not take you from top of the conference to average. That's not how it works.
Okay.
They were the only 2 teams in the conference they weren't better than were Houston and Memphis. They were better than everybody else.
All right.
You clearly disagree with that, but okay.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing or agreeing, but I mean...
They were better than Tulane. Do you think they were better than Tulane? They beat Tulane here. They had Tulane dead to rights there, and then they lost Vic. And
Tulane beat Memphis twice.
What's that have to do with UC?
Oh, they beat the team UC.
I saw UC against Tulane. UC was better than Tulane.
Okay. Either way, it's neither here nor there.
I know. We're just arguing to argue at this point.
I'm not. You are. I just think you're you need to, like, I'm sure fans are thinking, like, okay, if you're going to have 2 or 3 spots, you better hit.
You better hit. Yes.
Like, not home runs. These have to be grand slams. Every single one of them.
No, they
Yes,
don't. They were a
they
top
do.
50 team, Dave. If they were 137th in RPI and net and Ken Palm, yeah, sure. They were top 50 in almost every metric
You're going to
across
tell
the
me
board.
that if Landers does not come back, and without Dave,
Do we know that?
No, I'm saying if.
Okay.
If he doesn't come back,
what if he does?
If he does, then yes, you probably don't need to.
No, you need 2 Big 12 starter level transfers on this roster.
Okay. Yeah.
But yes. There's no argument for me on that front. You have to add 2 starting level Big 12 players in the portal.
Like, I'm gonna take it, day by day and not freak out about it because I don't usually do those things. Other people won't until they see it. So I'm not saying that I agree, but I understand.
West Virginia was not a great basketball team this year. They won 7 games in the Big 12 and they made the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State was almost on par with Cincinnati in every metric. They won 8 games in the Big 12. The reason that Oklahoma State wasn't in the tournament is because they lost to UCF and Virginia Tech in the regular season. Guess who beat UCF twice and Virginia Tech once? Cincinnati was absolutely on par with Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State won 8 games in the Big 12.
Yes.
So that's me saying there is this sense of doom that this is going to be a 2-win team in the Big 12 next year.
I don't believe that. I'm not going to make any predictions. Like I said 10 minutes ago, I don't even know who's on the team.
Right, of course. We'll talk about that once we have a better feel for.
Tell me who's on the team, and I will tell you how good I think they will be. Like, how can you possibly but that is just what fans are, and that is just what
Do you think there's legs to the fact that it's just everything has become transactional? It's become I've talked about this in a sense in a couple of ways with video games. Video games are transactional. Everybody wants their team to be their version of a video game.
Yes,
I know
because,
what to do.
I look at it me. I follow the Bengals very closely in free agency and the draft, and how much consternation and losing of minds has happened over the last 2 weeks because they didn't sign a tight end who wasn't going to be expected to play very much if they, got their tight end 1 in the draft, and a backup running back. Like, everything now has become a line on a spreadsheet, a dollar amount on a cap, a salary cap, talking from a Bengals standpoint.
And every fan thinks they're now a salary cap expert.
Right. Where it's like, let's just sign someone to fill a spot. Let's not take into account if that person is actually good at football or not. But no, yes, it has become that way in college because fans see it as instant ways to fix problems, where before you couldn't really do that. You had to hope that freshmen were developed. You had to hope that sophomores took jumps to be seniors. Now you can just go, these 3 guys that aren't playing that much, they're going to leave, and we can instantly replace them with hopefully 3 players that are better.
But here's the problem. Fans, far more often than not, the things that they see as problems, the team they root for doesn't see that as a problem. Like, the fans see it as, oh my God, if we don't do this, if we don't re-sign Von Bell and Jesse Bates gets away, the Bengals are fucked at safety. It's the worst thing. It's terrible. We're not going to ever recover if they don't get one of those 2 guys back in the fold.
Right.
And then they go out and they get a young, hungry safety from a Super Bowl championship team. And all of a sudden, well.
But I'm also not.
Okay at
I'm
safety.
also not. I'm not going to blame them for that because
I'm not either. I'm just talking about the why. The why that this is happening. Not. I don't think it's wrong. I don't blame fans for being fanatical. It's in the word. Like, I understand it, but I think it's interesting to look at like this shift. Why it's happening.
I think part of it for me personally, from a basketball standpoint only, because it's the seasons are not set up the same way. But and there's obviously extenuating circumstances. I mean, one season there wasn't even a tournament. UC maybe was probably going to make it. We don't know 100%. But we're in the tournament right now. Like, fans want to be back in the fucking tournament. Like, I looked it up. I looked it up before we got on this call. March 20, whatever, 2019 was the game when they lost to Iowa. Like, for UC fans, that is a long time. That is not acceptable. So you're already on edge. You're watching the tournament. You're like, damn it, we need to be in there. Shit, the Big 12 is super hard. Like, I don't think we're going to be awful, but are we going to be good enough? And then if we don't make it, then that's year 3 of West and year 6, 5, whatever you want to count it, of not being in the tournament. So what does that mean for it's just an uncomfortable place to be after you've been very accustomed to not winning in the tournament, but you had a pretty damn good idea when the first game started in November where you were going to be in March for 20, 25 years in a row.
Well, Huggins was from 92 to 05
with the break in there when Mick first started, but you know what I mean. So I just think that is part of the thought process too, of we need to get the guys because we want to get back, and and I don't disagree with that. I want to get the dudes too. Now, whether you get them tomorrow or April 15th or April 29th, doesn't matter to me. If they're the right guys and they make the impact that we all hope they make when they are brought in, is inconsequential.
Yeah, agree. And as a coaching staff, you have to worry a lot about a lot more than, can this guy come in and score 15 points a game? It's also, is this guy going to come in and screw up what we've spent 2 years trying to?
It's way.
I don't envy them at all.
Hell no. Think of it like we're going to call it old times. You brought in 3 freshmen. They didn't play. Guess what? Those 3 guys did the next year. They came right back.
They were sophomores. Maybe
sophomores.
one of them left. Maybe one of them left.
I mean,
they weren't good enough. Clearly,
right, but it wasn't because they weren't playing.
Right.
It was because they realized, this isn't. I'm not. I probably am not gonna all those guys that Mick brought in for how many years? He very rarely had anybody leave the program that he didn't tell to go kick rocks.
In this day and age, Justin Jennifer would have been ran off. Trey Scott would have been ran off. Trying to think of some of the other guys that kind of developed later in their career. Rashad Bishop might have been ran off because he was playing, but he wasn't a major factor, or he wasn't putting up a bunch of points and numbers. It's Deion Dixon might have said, you know what, I'm out of here. And these are all guys that were parts of teams. Keith Williams probably would have left early in his career when he was stuck behind Jaron and Jake and Troy and Kevin and Kane and it's a different time.
It's very much I think the reason people get any certain way is because the opportunity for change is there
this window
to be had much sooner. If you brought in freshmen before and they just had a normal freshman year, maybe they played 5 minutes a game or 10 minutes a game and they averaged 3 points and 1 rebound. You didn't say like we got to get rid of that guy. You're just like, oh well, hopefully he was a freshman.
Well, there was a full bench freshman, rotation sophomore, starter junior, star senior. Like that was the steps, the stairs that you were supposed to climb. Yeah. Unless you were awesome.
Yeah, and I'm not like I think sometimes,
Justin Jackson, there's another one.
Like I am, we've talked about it, and I've made some opinions known on the board. Like I'm more so of looking at like you've been here like five years or whatever. Like I'm not talking about like a first or even a second year guy. I do not agree with that. I'm not a fan of like the stuff that even before the portal. I mean, the stuff Chris Mack was doing at Xavier.
Right.
When he had 7-man recruiting classes when transfers had to sit out.
Not wrong. Pickles is heavy. Pickles is all about the basketball talk tonight.
She's been she's wanting her camera time. But no, I mean it puts coaches in a tough spot. I mean, we've talked about it. You're recruiting your own guys just as much as you're recruiting new guys.
But there also becomes like the thing that you're talking about is running off the guys that are the ones that are part of the culture you've established. They know what practice is all about. They know what the daily, like this is part of what made those steps possible, Dave. Bench, rotation, starter, star.
Yeah, but like
are the guys that were there to lead them through that worked. Like Gary Clark led Trey Scott through 3 years of nothingness. Now you're not saying to run off Gary Clark, but then like by his redshirt junior year, Trey had a good, not great year.
Yeah.
Your philosophy would have been to tell Trey Scott, it's time to go. And we're going to go get better than you and younger than you in the portal. And then Trey Scott came in and lost his fucking mind as a senior and did things that none of us ever thought humanly possible from Trey Scott.
But he was
that
also,
or did that not happen?
Yes, but he was also a starter. The people I'm talking about we talked last week are break glass in case of emergency.
Odio Guama started.
I'm not talking about him.
Micah Adams-Woods has started almost more games than anyone in Cincinnati basketball history.
Well, that's because he's played 7 years.
Hey, you just said you're talking about you're not talking about starters.
But you said he's not. He's not.
Jeremiah Davenport has started like 60 games as a Cincinnati Bearcat.
Yeah, that's like not even close to the top 50 in program history.
He started for 3.5 years, 2.5. Like he started a ton of games. You're putting the emphasis on a different syllable now.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, I just gave you Trey Scott, who at the end of his junior year.
End of his junior year. I'm talking about end of
redshirt junior year.
I'm talking end of redshirt senior year.
No, regular senior year, 4th year in the program.
Okay. We'll make a bet offline, and then I will guarantee you I will win.
But no, it's not about making a bet. It's
yes,
about
it is.
Trey Scott as a junior. 9.3 points a game, 7 rebounds a game in 30 minutes.
Okay, so
and people would have said, in today's day and age, he's had 4 years in the program. He hasn't scored in double digits. He can't shoot the 3. He's rebounding okay, but he doesn't block shots. He's not a rim protector.
You have
he
to take into account the roster as a whole, not just read a stat line.
Okay.
What was he expected to do? And what was he expected to do then the next year?
He wasn't expected to do what he did. I can tell you that. That team had Jaron, Keith, Justin, Kane, Nizier, and then Rashawn Fredericks, Trevor Moore, Logan Johnson, Mamadou, Eliel, Sam Martin, and John Koss.
Okay. We're just not going to agree on this. Like, I don't think Mike Adams-Woods is good enough to play in the Big 12 and make an impact on the team, and you do.
And I'm saying there were people that looked at that team and said Trey was not good enough
to play in the AAC?
To stay on the roster. If in the transfer portal era, let's go get somebody better, because that's transactional. We need to go get somebody better than a guy in his fourth year in the program that can only put up 9 and 6. How much better can he possibly get? What's he going to do as a senior that's any better than what we've seen from him in his 4 years in the program?
Okay.
Those were the arguments. Like that it wasn't a transfer portal era, but in the transfer portal era, that would have been the argument on getting rid of Trey Scott, and there would have been an argument on getting rid of Nizier Brooks as well.
We don't need to get into that.
See? I'm having fun with it now. Like, I'm not like, but you get my point. Like, that's what I think people have to be careful of, is there is still a need. Look at these teams that are in the Final Four. They have guys that are rotation core guys that are helping them get over the hump as they supplement around them with better players at the top of the roster. I'm not opposed to have the middle of the roster be guys that have blood, sweat, and tears 60 starts for your program.
And and my point is, if that's the middle of your roster, you're not going to be good enough.
Then you don't know Big 12 rosters.
I think I have a fairly good idea.
You know the top of Big 12 rosters.
Well, when we get some top of Big 12 roster players, then we'll talk, because we don't have any of those right now.
Yes, they do. Landers Nolly, Victor Locken.
No, Victor Locken is not a top of the Big 12 roster player.
Okay. If he continued, Victor Locken, people wanted him in the transfer portal last year at this point in time.
You're saying if he improved. I'm saying right now. Of course, anybody can become a top.
Why wouldn't I expect a guy to improve?
Because
he's a college basketball player. That's what they do. We just spent time talking about bench player, rotation player, starter, star. You acknowledged that and agreed with that.
Not everybody. That's the goal. That's the hope. Not everybody does that.
Bearcat 12. It's entertainment. We're doing a podcast. This is what you do. You talk about what's happening.
If every player followed that trajectory, no one would ever transfer and every team would be good.
That's fair. Or you'd be FAU and you'd be playing in the Final Four right now.
But they can't even say that because they have a bunch of sophomores and juniors, so they haven't even followed that trajectory yet.
But the middle of their roster is guys that are blood, sweat, and tears in that program. The top of the roster is different.
You also blood, sweat, and tears only takes you so far if you're not talented. I can get out there. So how the fuck did FAU end up with talented sophomores and juniors? They recruited them and developed them just like anybody else did.
Dan Skillings, Josh Reed, Jizzle James, Rayvon Griffith.
Yeah, Josh Reed. We have no idea what Josh Reed is.
I know, because he didn't really get to play. He should have redshirted, but John Newman got hurt.
Right, so you can't include him. You have no idea.
He's on the team. I can't include him. I just did. You don't get to tell me. I don't get to tell you what you want. You don't get to tell me what I want.
We have no idea if he's going to be good or not.
I just want to drop this bomb that if Vic would actually enter the transfer portal, he would end up on a Big Ten team 1,000%.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
Just saying. You argued that he wasn't P5, Big 12.
No.
He's certainly Big 12, but
Top of the Big 12, I have to see that.
okay.
We're gonna.
Yeah.
Go look at Vic's biggest games. I had this argument already with one person. You want me to go through it with you, Dave?
Not really.
Okay, but I'm gonna anyway.
Well, I'm gonna get off here because I'm not interested in discussing it.
You're not interested in discussing how wrong your point is?
I don't care which games he had the best games in.
Huh?
It's not interesting to me for you to read stat lines off the internet.
I'm just like very basic. His best games were against Arizona, 17 and where's the rebounds out on this damn thing? 17 and 5. Xavier, 16 and 8. Houston, 16 and 6.
Did we win any of those games?
Who gives a fuck, Dave? The point is, Victor Locken's not a top of the roster talent, and against every best team that Cincinnati played, Vic put up a big stat number until he got hurt. You don't get to quit. You don't get to keep changing, moving the fucking goalposts.
He scored over 10 points 3 times in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, he got hurt.
9 games.
He blew out his ankle and fought through it and kept playing because this team needed him. Like, give me a break. You know better than that. That's a bullshit fucking, you know that the guy played the end of the season hurt.
Yeah.
I'm giving you the games when he was healthy, when he scored 15 to 20 points against every good team that they played and had 7 to 10 rebounds. You're not arguing in good faith. All right, that's the end of the podcast. We'll see you next time. It's the BCJ podcast.
Oh, I guess
here on Bear. What?
I guess we're done.
You're not arguing in good faith.
I'm not arguing at all.
You said he's not good enough to play at the top of the Big 12, and I just gave you the numbers against Xavier, Arizona, Houston, Memphis. And you very openly had no interest in those numbers because they proved that against high-end competition, Vic could play.
Okay. I need to see more.
That's not having a good faith discussion.
Okay, if you say so.
I mean, he's shown it against teams that are top 20 in KenPom, top 20, top 5 seeds, top 3 seeds in the NCAA tournament. He's played really, really well. That's just you wanting to say, I don't believe this team has enough talent. So even though he's shown it, I don't believe it.
I'll give you him. Who else?
Vic Landers. You need 2 more. And then you hope one of the point guards works.
What happens if Landers leaves?
We'll see. Then you go get a third.
And that third is going to be available in June?
I think the coach will know more before June what's going to happen.
May?
Probably April, because he'll start getting the feedback on what his value is. That's the thing. Just because fans don't know, you think Wes isn't going to be talking to Landers?
Oh, I'm sure he will.
Throughout this process, we might not know a decision until May, but Wes is going to know where Landers stands and whether he needs to replace him or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the job of a coach.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm not as high on the overall talent level as you are. That's fine.
If they were bad, they would not be a top 1. They would not be a top 50 team on every metric. If this team was as bad as the people think that they are. Right?
I'm not gonna sing a new tune if they get a new guard that plays shitty.
Then he'll sing the tune that West should have got a better fucking guard.
I mean, it's not hard. I'm sorry, I don't know where like I understand dudes that commit and stay and deal with the coaching change, and like I understand the loyalty that you want to have to, not you personally, fans want to have to certain players. Like I get it, but like let's not pretend that some of these guys that they weren't even top 3 team AAC players. So let's not pretend that like nobody can come in and possibly be better than them.
But you have to find people willing to come in and be middle of the roster guys, because that's what they're moving on. Okay, you already have 2 or 3 spots that you're going to fill the top of the roster.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you're going to create 2 or 3 more spots, then you have to find guys willing to come in and be 15 to 20 minute a game guys, and then be certain that you're not going to miss and you're going to know what role they fill.
Yeah. That's why you make X amount of dollars to figure all that out.
Okay. You don't hold the Bengals to the same standard.
They're not. You can't even compare the two.
Okay, I just did.
You can't, because one works under a salary cap and pays everybody actual dollars, and has
there's actual dollars involved in college basketball.
Okay.
Yes. You think NIL isn't determining where guys go?
Of course it is.
Okay. Then actual dollars are determining. You also have to have the NIL to get these middle of the roster guys after you've paid the 2 or 3 top of the roster guys that you want. Now you're out of NIL and you're replacing known quantities for unknown quantities that you can't afford in the free agent market.
All right. I guess I'm wrong.
Am I wrong?
I guess I'll just shut up and take, a dude that just does not impress me, and whatever. It's fine.
How many guys that play 14 minutes a game impress you?
He doesn't play 14 minutes a game, Chad.
I know, but if you add we've already talked about, the goal is to add 2 to 3 top of the roster players. And then you have Vic, who's still here, and Landers, if he's back. Now you have 4 or 5 top of the roster players. There's only so many minutes. And now you're talking about replacing if you run off of Micah, you're going to have to replace his spot on the roster with that's not a top of the roster guy. That's a middle of the roster guy. Right? Or if you run off Odie, I've seen people, it got lesser as the season went on.
Well, Odie announced to John Rothstein that he was coming back tonight.
I know, but there are people that are like, get rid of Odie.
No, I'm not in that camp whatsoever.
But people were in that camp for 4 months this season. And then Vic got hurt. Odie stepped up and filled the void. And now everybody wants Odie to stay. John Newman. People want to run off John Newman.
I'm nervous about that one.
How can you not be? He's been hurt a couple times. But if he's on the roster, he's a guy that's proven at the ACC level that he can play. Has he not?
Yeah.
He proved here last year that he could play before he got hurt.
Yes.
So if you're asking him to be a 17-minute a game night, I got it. And now you run him off, you have to replace him with a 17-minute a game guy. That's proven to be a high major defender.
I guess I'm still trying to figure out where he's getting 17 minutes a game. If you're bringing in 2 point guards.
John Newman?
No, I'm talking about Micah. Sorry, I thought you were talking about.
Well, the question right now, until they answer it, hopefully through the portal, is who plays the 2 consistently on this roster. Landers is a 3 or a 4, more of a 3.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, I mean they have to have someone that
they need a 2.
Spaces the floor and can play 30 minutes and shoots 40-ish% from 3.
Right.
Because there's no shooting on this team as of now.
If Landers comes back, you have a shooter.
if Landers comes back, yes, he had a great year shooting. So,
he's a great shooter. He's had a great year shooting pretty much everywhere he's been.
Dan, we'll see. I think he can be better.
His numbers were obviously hurt by starting the season 0 for 12.
Well, and he's a freshman. I mean, who knows what you go from freshman to sophomore year. I mean, Micah.
But you're adding Jizzle and Day that we don't know, especially in year one,
for sure
what they're going to shoot it.
For sure,
they're downhill guys.
But that's why you need even more of a. Yeah. And that's, I think, where I come from on my thing with Micah is if you're now going to shift to having your likely two main point guards be downhill guys and not spacing the floor horizontally, who are they going to kick the ball to?
You know, he's also shown to be a very good spot-up shooter in his career at Cincinnati.
Who?
Mike Adams-Woods.
He's been a very inconsistent shooter in his career.
He was a very good spot-up shooter this year. He wasn't good off the dribble, but he hit a lot of threes on catch and shoots this year.
Yeah, well.
As a backup to come in and stand in a spot and shoot a three, he's not a terrible option. Is he a terrible option?
Samuel brings up my point exactly. I do know exactly what I'm going to get, and I don't think it's good enough. That's my damn point this whole time. He's a fourth going into fifth year guy. I know what I'm getting. That's my point.
So does the coaching staff.
I know.
They seem to be okay with it.
If that's fine. They know way more than I do. But we have a podcast.
The belief is,
and I'm paid millions of dollars to give my opinion. so I'm going to give my opinion.
Oh man, why not have Day and Jizzle be the 1 and 2?
No, because neither of them are really outside shooters. That is even more of a problem then.
Well, Day shot 40% from three this year.
I'm going to temper my JUCO stat expectations.
Me too. And you don't want your 1 and 2 going into the Big 12 being guys that are bouncing a ball on a Division I court for the first time.
And one's what, like 5'11", maybe?
They're both about 6 foot, 6'1".
Yeah, I'm not loving that.
Right. Unless it's Shabazz and
Kemba Walker.
And Kemba, yeah. I'm not running out the sub 6 foot or the 6 foot all-stars
that have never played.
Yeah. Micah shot 36% from three, and he was good on catch and shoot. I just think he's a good guard to have on your bench. I do. Okay. You don't. That's fine. We disagree. We disagree. That's okay.
I have more faith in Wes, I guess, than you do to go out and get a better player.
I just don't know, define a better player, middle of the roster, better player. I don't.
A 6'5" or 6'6" guy that shoots 30.
A 6'5" or 6'6" guy that's willing to come in and play 14 minutes a game.
If you have that extra spot, you can find that knockdown shooter. In my world, maybe you can. When you have more spots,
you have a guy. So let me ask you this: how many more percentage points do you need over a 36% shooter?
Well, it depends. What is the rest of my team? Is the 36% shooter my best shooter?
No, Landers is your best shooter. We're assuming right now Landers is back next year for this discussion.
For this exercise.
For the sake of this discussion. We're going to go get a 2 guard. You're going to have Landers back, and you're going to have an additional.
I need a 2 guard.
Yeah. You're going to get a 2 and either a 4 or a 5 that's starter Big 12 quality to go with Landers, your 2 freshman junior college point guards, and then you have your bench guys behind them.
I know this is totally off subject, and I know it's just you can't go off of what's being discussed on the Twitters and everything.
Sure.
But it seems like they're not. No, I haven't noticed any 2 guards that they're talking to. Am I just missing that.
I don't know that there are many two guards. It's like
everybody's
guards and
name
forwards.
that I see is like a big, which is fine because they need bigs, but like
No, it's combo guards and like combo forwards. Like that's like undersized fours and not good enough to be a 1-2s.
yeah. I don't know. I'm reading some of these comments and restraining myself from commenting.
The step back 3 bullshit is gone, Reed. I don't know. Like, you're so angry right now. That's Dave. That was Dave's game. Dave was the step back 3 guy. He has graduated. Like, Dave's bread and butter, the thing he relied on was the step back 3. Landers was more of a pump fake and relocate. I don't really remember many step back 3s from Landers.
No, it was go directly to the side.
Catch and shoot, or pump fake, relocate, dribble, and then shoot the 3. JD's not.
JD
didn't take step back 3s. He took 30-foot 3s as soon as the ball touched his fingertips.
Where he was fading away into the bench area. He never dribbled.
Right.
I think.
How do you take a step back 3 if you don't dribble?
Like I would love to go back, and it would be a great PCU. Remember TV guy or whatever his name was. That his senior thesis was like watching the. I want someone to go back and watch all the games and count the number of times JD actually dribbled the ball.
How many dribbles do you think he took this season
That's
in the half court?
I want to know. Yeah, like under 200.
Way under. In the half court? Like not counting getting the ball and like dribbling it up the floor, like getting a rebound.
Like in the offense, like they pass you the ball and you make them like you're like. I mean, there's like 30 games under 200. 30. They played 36 games.
Like 8 dribbles a game, 10 dribbles a game.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Someone needs to do that. Like, we need a student at UC to do a thesis paper on who's played the most minutes and taken the least amount of dribbles.
It's great. I love it. You know what I also love? Aaron has gone through us having this argument, like arguing so many times where one of us is like, all right, fine, I'm out of here. He didn't even, like, he used to put the end graphic up knowing that we were going to, like, end the show or might end the show. Now he's like, you guys are full of shit. You're not done yet. Get over it.
No, because we don't, like, you and I don't, like, we just, like, move on to the next thing. And it's like, whatever.
I just thought of the Vic conversation you weren't letting. Yeah, you know now, Aaron. Like, there's no point in putting it up anymore.
If you really were done, I was not even going to put the end graphic up, and I would have just hit end broadcast and been done with it. Whatever. Yeah. That's on you, not on me. That's on you.
No, what the hell? My computer now. But no, I'm probably wrong there. Like, you know, those numbers are real numbers and everything. Like. So I'm probably wrong.
He was a different player.
I wasn't trying to make it sound like I didn't think he was any good. You know, so
I think he's a 6'11" big that can shoot and block shots and moves well and can defend the pick and roll. Like, there's a lot of value in that guy. He's a Big 12 quality starter.
Yes.
And you have Landers, a Big 12 quality starter.
I think he could benefit. I think Vic will actually, will benefit, assuming that they play at a fairly high level. I think he will benefit from having lead guards like Day and Jizzle.
So if you have Vic and you have Landers and you have Jizzle and Day that you're counting on to be the future of the point guard position, you go out and you get 2 more. And then you have 5. And then the rest of the guys can slot into their roles, even without any more changes.
Reed, I would drive to wherever the hell Utah Valley is right now. Like, right now.
He's not coming here in that role. He's not.
No, that's why I'd go to drive and pick him up because he'd be my starting point guard.
Or 2.
Or my 2, right.
Yeah, you can play him at the
Yeah,
2.
he's not. Yes, I would trade him for Micah because I'd be.
Who wouldn't? If you're Utah Valley and you make that trade, you fire the GM.
Wait, you traded our best player for their 7th man? Did they give you a washer and dryer and maybe like some free airline miles for us this season?
Oh. You got some of those new Wilson basketballs that they used in the NCAA tournament
That apparently have more air than I was reading something about that. It was like they're talking about the shooting, and everyone was like, "Yeah, because they're filled with so much damn air that."
I love it.
Oh, Jay Buhner.
What?
Natalie said, "Why are you trading Jay Buhner?"
That's funny.
Oh,
all
yeah.
right.
I don't know why Mark Madsen's taking the Cal job.
That's a weird one.
It's not set up for success.
That's a weird one. All right. I got my daughter is like peeking around the corner like she wants me to be your dad or something.
Tell her to go to bed. It's 10 o'clock.
The TV background noise keeps getting louder and louder.
Yeah, she's trying to she's opened all the doors. She just keeps standing outside the door staring at me. Apparently there's a conversation we need to have or something. But anyhow, we'll see what day next week. It might be Thursday just because Dave and I are trying to work on something. But we'll see. Dave, great show as always, my friend.
Hey, it is a pleasure. I always think it's funny when people are like, "Oh, they're getting at each other," and they're like,
"We love it. Like you and I enjoy this. We have a great time getting after it."
Like,
and,
if we agreed on everything, it would be boring,
right?
And 2, like it's fun. It's entertainment. Like, I couldn't possibly take any of this on any sort of personal level. I mean, we're just talking about sports. Like, I would hope that we have differences of opinions on certain things.
Sure. It wouldn't be any fun if we agreed on everything.
And hey, guess what? Sometimes too, it might just be an act.
All right. Everybody wants to know if you've talked shit to Dave about Travis Kelce beating the Bengals in the AFC Championship game and winning the Super Bowl. No? You're going to let it go?
She's going to be the bigger person.
She's more worried about her outfit for the Taylor Swift concert 3 months from now.
I am also worried about my outfit for the Taylor Swift concert.
I can only imagine. We'll see you next time. That's the BCJ podcast, not the Nightcap. We'll see you next time right here on BearcatJournal.com.